Hello, everybody. Let's talk about firms and competitive markets. And we're now past Captain Capitalism. Now we're talking about all the problems in life. And what I want to show you with this is, I probably should have actually put this a little bit earlier. I shouldn't start this way because if I reuse this video in future semesters, it might confuse people. The first 6 weeks of my class is Captain Capitalism. We need markets and get out of the way. The second set is a little bit different. We talk about when government should intervene. And one of the best ways to understand this is we actually make a lot of assumptions about what competitive markets are. And those assumptions don't always hold up. And so I've decided to wait, at least in my first semester. I might change this later. But in my first semester, I wanted to show you this kind of as we introduce this idea of more government intervention. And the reason I'm doing that is because a lot of these assumptions don't hold. And you'll see that, I think, fairly quickly. So let's dive in. Let's talk about competition and perfect competition. What is marginal revenue? How is it related to total and average revenue? How does a competitive firm determine the quantity that maximizes profits? When will a competitive firm shut down? Shutdown decisions are easy but kind of counterintuitive. They surprise people, but they actually make a lot of sense once you think about them. What does the market supply curve look like in the short run and in the long run? So let's define competitive markets. We like competition. We like competitive markets. We like perfect competition. Well, here are three enormous assumptions that we're going to make. Number one, the market has enough buyers and sellers that none of them have any market power. So it says many buyers and sellers. That's actually a little bit imprecise. Let's be more precise. The better way to think of this is there are enough buyers and sellers that none of them have market power. It's not like you have the US government who controls enough buying power that they can set their own prices. This is little teeny tiny ma and pa stores. So Walmart doesn't exist. These are all just hundreds and hundreds of teeny tiny little buyers and sellers. And number two, they're trading identical products. So because of the first two, each buyer and seller takes the market price as a given. The way that we say this is there are price makers. Those are people with market power, and price takers. We are assuming that everyone is a price taker, that no one can set the price, that I'm not a big enough buyer and they're not a big enough seller to adjust that. I just kind of have to deal with it. Firms, number three, are allowed to freely enter or exit the market, and that's going to show you in other words, there are no impediments to leaving. There are no impediments to coming. There are no government restrictions on occupational licensure or the number of firms in the market or fines and fees if you leave or if you enter. It is transaction cost free. In fact, if we were really being strict about this, we would actually say that you don't even have to get an education in that area in order to jump into this new market. You can just jump in the next day if profit seems likely. Those assumptions don't always hold up, and in fact, they are very big assumptions. Having said that, they're the right place to start if we want to understand what's going on in the market. We talked recently about costs. Now let's dive into the revenues for this firm. Combining those two is where we get a picture of the firm, and all of a sudden we can start to understand what should a firm do in a lot of different cases. So let's just define some stuff. Total revenue, same as before, P times Q. Average revenue is the TR divided by the Q. It's really easy. We just divide by the total revenue by the quantity. Marginal revenue is, again, kind of some calculus, change in one versus change in the other. The way that we're going to do that is delta 1, delta 2, or delta TR over delta Q. It's the change in total revenue from an additional unit sold. It's the change in revenue from the last one. Okay? For competitive firms, the average revenue is going to be the price. In other words, the MR, the marginal revenue, is not something we can affect. The marginal revenue is literally the price. We can't do anything about that because we're price takers. So the MR is the same as the price because we have no control. We're not market players that are big enough. We're price takers, not price makers. Okay. Amari's apple orchard revenue. Amari's apple orchard can produce up to 10 bushels of apples per year, and the current market price is $20 per bushel. He cannot affect that. Calculate Amari's apple orchard's total revenue, marginal revenue, and average revenue. Well, this is pretty easy. The total revenue at 0 is 0. The total revenue at 1 is 20. The total revenue at 2 is 40. And you can see how that would go, right? Very, very simple, goes all the way up. The average revenue, now we have to start dividing this. And actually, it's going to be really easy. It's going to be 20 all the way down. The marginal revenue is also going to be 20 because we have a very, very simple thing going on here. Okay? So if our goal is to maximize profit, and profit is TR minus TC, TR is equal to P times Q, and TC equals FC plus VC. We're going back to cost from the last time. what quantity is going to maximize a firm's profit? And here is where I think you want to think about this, that the simplest way to do this is to say, write a box in your notes and say MR equals MC. That is where you want to produce. You want to produce it every time. It is a golden box of truth. It is always true in every case from now until the rest of the class. There's one case in which it's still true, but it has a little asterisk. But this is a golden rule that you should live by. Whenever we are talking about the firm, they are going to produce where MR equals MC every single time. This is such an important rule, and you're going to use it all the time. So MC and MR, okay? If MR is equal to MC, is greater than MC, why would we produce where MR equals MC? I want you to think about this. If you can still make a buck because MR is 10 and MC is 9, you're going to increase by one more. You're going to produce one more in order to raise profit. On the other hand, if the MR is less than the MC, you're losing out. You don't want that in your life, so we're going to get rid of that. We're going to cut back until we can get just the right amount of profit. So if you are losing money on each one that you're producing, you need to cut back. There's an old joke that says a guy sells watermelons, and it costs him $100 to sell 50 watermelons. And so he goes out and he says, I think I'm going to need another truck. And this is a very funny joke because the whole point is he's got the price wrong, right? Like this is just not going to work. And by the way, if he's truly a price taker, then he just needs to produce less. There's no way that he's going to make money if it's a competitive market. Okay, so if your production is losing you money, you need to produce less. The way to maximize profit is going to be MR equals MC. Again, that goes in your box of truth. It is always the case. That's where we're going to produce. This is profit maximization. It is a very, very simple, easy rule to remember, and I want you to just remember it forever. Okay, here I can still remember it from 20 years ago when I took econ. All right, let's play a little bit. At 0, the total cost is 6. What is his profit going to be? Well, he didn't get any, so it's going to be negative 6. Okay, well, what about the next one? Well, total revenue is 20, total cost is 14, his profit is 6. Remember, this guy's goal is to maximize his profit. So you can just look at this and say, okay, at what point does he maximize his profit? And you can see it's somewhere in here. So it's 6 or 7, something like that. Okay, now let's look at what is the MR and the MC. So the MC, you can already kind of figure out relatively easy. Where is MR going to be equal to MC? It's right here in between these two. So either of these is going to maximize his profits. That's where he's going to want to produce. Anything above that and his cost is too high, he is now spending $22 to get $20. Anything below that, and he's leaving money on the table. He got $20 for spending 19, but he could still produce one more until where it's equivalent. Okay? If MR is greater than MC, increasing Q will raise your profit. Okay? If MR is less than MC, then reducing Q will raise your profit. We are always going to produce where MR equals MC. Okay? And that's what we are looking for. Okay? That's our max profit. All right, let's start getting into price curves, cost curves, and all of this good stuff. So here we have MC, and by the way, it's more of a swoosh, but we've simplified it a little bit. We're also going to get rid of AVC and ATC and some other stuff, just because they're not really needed right now. Let's first think about what is MR. Well, remember, MR in this case is just price. We don't really have the opportunity to adjust prices. We don't have any power in that sense. So we're just going to write that in. At QA, MC is less than MR. That means that I could, each one I produce, I get $10, but I only have to spend 8. Okay, well then spend another one. Okay, I spend another one, and then another one, and then another one. And all of a sudden, I'm going to keep going to raise profit until, oh no, I spent too much. I built too many of these things. Well, what's the best way to maximize profit? To reduce. This is going to be an equilibrium, and that's going to be at Q1. That's where we're going to produce. We're going to produce where MR equals MC every single time. And start doing that in graphs in your head because it's going to be important. Changing Q would lower profit in either direction, so we're going to always produce right there. Okay. Let's see. What if price goes up? What are we going to do now? Well, it goes to right there. There's MR2. then the profit maximizing quantity is going to be to move up. The MC curve determines the firm's Q at any price. Hence, the MC curve is the firm's supply curve. This is cool. The MC curve is the firm's supply curve. And in order to figure out market supply, you just add up a bunch of firm supply curves until you get this kind of a picture, which is actually kind of cool. All right. Let's talk about shutdown and exit decisions. So shutdown is a short-run decision not to produce anything because of market conditions. In other words, to go to Q equals 0 in the short run. Exit is different. Exit means a long-run decision. I'm out, I'm done, I'm never doing it again. So when I say shut down, I don't mean leave. I mean we're just going to stop producing for a little while. Exiting means we're gone forever. And here's the difference that's key. If shutdown is in the short run, you still have to pay your fixed costs. But if you exit in the long run, you don't have any. You can sell off your stuff and save that money. Let's think about this. Should a firm shut down in the short run? Well, let's talk this through. The cost of shutting down is equal to the revenue loss from going to 0, which is total revenue, right? So you lose that. But the benefit of shutting down is the cost savings from the variable costs because the firm still has to pay the fixed costs. So you're going to shut down if total revenue is less than VC or price is less than AVC. If either of those happen, you're going to produce Q in the short run. So let's look at a graph so that we can see where this works. If the price is greater than AVC, then the firm produces Q where price MR equals MC. Okay, so that's right there. If the price is less than AVC, then the firm is going to shut down. Okay, and the way that I think about this, just to pause for a second, is if I can make, let's say that I'm paying 10 employees $10 a day, and I can make $120, but I still have $100 other dollars that I have to spend on the factory. That's $200 total per day. Well, listen, that's not great, right? I'm still losing money on my workers. But by by still producing, I'm only losing $80 a day instead of $100 per day. Okay? If I exit, then I'm still stuck with all those costs and I need to figure those out. I'm not going to shut down. I'm only going to shut down if it, let me put it this way. Instead of maximizing profit, now I'm minimizing costs. Okay? All right. The firm's short-run supply curve is the portion of its MC curve above the AVC. Sunk costs. I love sunk costs. Spilled milk. Don't cry over it. Okay? That's a cost that's already been committed, and you can't get it back. You need to ignore it when making decisions. You must pay them regardless of your choice. In the short run, FC are sunk costs. You can't do anything about them. They're already there. You can't go back, so FC should not matter in the decision to shut down. You kind of have to ignore it because it's there no matter what you do. In the short run, you just need to decide how can you maximize as much profit as you can. Okay? All right, active learning. While attending a concert, you paid $55 for a hoodie of your favorite artist, but you bought it 2 sizes too small. You decide to sell your hoodie to your cousin who lives in a different town. You'll have to pay $15 for delivery by mail. What's the lowest price you should ask for the hoodie? And this is kind of weird, but actually, the rational way to see this is $15. Because the $55 is a sunk cost. You can't do anything about that, right? So if he offers you $16, you should take it. If he offers you $14, now you're incurring an extra cost. Now, you're not going to do that because you want to strategize. You want to get as much out of your cousin as you can. So you're going to say like $70. That's what you want to say. But actually, no, that's not how that works at all, right? Like the reality is you are going to benefit if he is willing to pay you anything above 15. Okay, now let's talk about the long run decision to enter or exit. Okay, the long run decision is a little bit different. This is the same as the cost of exiting is TR. The benefit is the total cost because in the long run, there are no FCs. There are no fixed costs. Okay, we can get rid of the number of factories. We can do whatever we need to do. So the firm's long run decision, this might be a good one for a note card, is that if TR is less than TC, you're going to exit. That's the same as saying if price is less than the average total cost. And you're going to enter the market if total revenue is greater than total cost. That's the same as saying if price is greater than average total costs. Okay, the competitive firm's long-run supply curve. If price is greater than ATC, then the firm produces Q on the MC curve. If price is less than ATC, then firm exits in the long run. Let's go back. If it's greater than ATC, you're going to produce on the MC curve. But if it's less than that, you're going to get out because you are losing money in the long run. Okay? The firm's long run supply curve is the portion of its MC curve that is above the ATC. There's so many definitions here. Like, I can remember them, but this is not a great, I don't know, I'm just being frustrated on your account because I don't think this is a super clear way to explain it. There's just a lot of like, do I have to memorize all this? If you are lost, don't stress. We can slow down. You're going to be okay. Just keep taking notes. Like, I've got you. None of this is super complicated. You just need a little bit of time to kind of let your brain wrap itself around this stuff. Okay. How Amari's profit is the same as total revenue minus total cost. Okay. Find the Q where MR equals MC. Remember a minute ago I said MR equals MC is where this is going to happen. Okay. MR equals MC is where a rational person is going to produce, and that's right there. Q of 7, P of 20. And now here's what's cool. You remember that we can figure out the total revenue really easily. You just multiply Q and P. Bing! You can do the same with the total costs. If this is the average total cost, to find the total cost, you just multiply it by quantity. So it's this times 7. This is the cost. This is total revenue. This top part is their profit. Okay? And that's a cool representation that we're going to use a lot. So there is total cost. This is total revenue. This is their profit right up in there. Yep. There is the total profit, $35. We're going to do a lot with those in these next couple of chapters. Okay. Look at these cost curves. Calculate TR and TC. Calculate profit or loss, and identify the profit or loss area on the graph. This is doable. Take a minute, see if you can figure it out for yourself. Go. Okay, let's start with where do we produce? We're going to produce where MR equals MC, because if it was any lower, we would add one more to our production to make that money. If it were any higher, then we would lose money because the costs are starting to outstrip the benefit. Okay, and so that's not going to make a whole lot of sense. So we're going to produce at our MR equals MC. What is going to be the amount of total revenue? It's going to be the whole box, which should be, I think, 90. What's the amount of cost? It's average total cost. Average total cost is 5 times 30, so it's going to be 150. Okay? And so what you can already tell is if they're getting $90, but they're spending 150, they are losing $60 during this period. Let's see if I got all of that right. I did it pretty quick. So where is Q? Find the Q where MR equals MC. Yep, I got that right. So that's going to be that. It's a loss because the price is less than ATC, but the price is still greater than the average variable cost, so they are going to keep producing. They're not going to throw in the towel quite yet because then they would lose all of that extra $90, and now they would. So think of it this way: they're gonna make $90 and lose 150. That's still $60 in losses. But if they get out, now they're still stuck with, what would the average variable cost? I don't see what it would be there. It's better for them to stay in even though they're losing because they would lose more if they shut down. Okay, so there's our $60 loss. Oh, and they just don't go over it. That's why. That's too bad because I thought that would have been juicy. Okay, some assumptions that we have for market supply. All existing firms and potential entrants have identical cost curves. Each firm's costs do not change as other firms enter or exit the market. The number of firms in the market is fixed in the short run due to fixed costs and variable in the long run due to free entry and exit. Short run market supply curve. Wow, these are just a lot of lines of just remember this and do this and all of that stuff. Yep. As long as price is greater than AVC, then they're going to produce at MR equals MC. Recall from chapter 4. At each price, the market quantity supplied is just the sum of all of the supply curves. Yep, I agree with that. So assume 1,000 identical firms. At each P, the market quantity supplied is 1,000 times one firm's QS. So I guess they're just showing you that the market supply curve is just going to look the same but bigger. I feel like they didn't need to spend 3 slides on this. This is really obvious. Okay. That's fine. Weird. Okay. In the long run, the number of firms can change due to entry or exit. If existing firms can earn positive economic profit, then more people will come in. Price will fall, reducing profits and slowing entry. If existing firms incur losses, some firms will exit. Short-run market supply shifts left. P rises, reducing remaining firms' losses. Until economic profit, P equals min ATC. Listen, that was a really complicated way to say this, so I'm just going to say it a lot clearer in my view. Guys, if you see a sector of the economy keeps making profit, what are you going to do? You're going to go to that area. You're going to make some money. People are going to keep doing that until it's not making any profit anymore. If it's making losses, people are going to exit that area until it goes back to zero profits. In the long run, this is something that we call the zero profit condition. The long run equilibrium is that there are zero economic profits. When profits are happening over the long run, we kind of look at it and go, that's a little weird. And that's because if there are profits happening, people should move into that unless there is something preventing them from moving into that. Okay, so we should expect zero economic profit when price equals min ATC. Since firms produce where price is equal to MR equals MC, the zero profit condition is price equals MC equals ATC. Recall that MC intersects ATC at the min ATC. Hence, in the long run, price equals min ATC, the efficient scale. I should probably be more excited about that. That's not that cool to me, but okay, that's fine. All right, next one. One firm and the market. In the long run, the typical firm earns zero profit, because otherwise people would enter until that no longer happened. So the long run market supply curve, oh, I know what they're going to say. They're going to show how it's totally horizontal. Yeah, that makes sense actually. Because, yeah, it's kind of dumb, but okay. So the market supply curve is horizontal at P equals min ATC. Will become more clear shortly when students see the SR and LR effects of an increase in demand. Then why don't you just show it now? Okay, this does make sense to me, but I think they went, I just don't love these slides. Maybe I need to do some better ones myself, but that'll take time and I'm lazy. I don't want to do it, but maybe I'll do it. Why stay in business with zero profit? Why do competitive firms stay in business if they make zero profit? Profit is total revenue minus total cost. Total cost includes all implicit costs like the opportunity cost of the owner's time and money. The reality is that accounting profit is positive. So one way to think about it, by the way, the textbook does actually explain this in pretty clear ways. Let's say that your salary is $100,000 a year. Well, that's zero profit, but that doesn't mean that you're not getting your own salary. Like your business is still doing well. Accounting profits are good. The only thing that's not happening is economic profits, right? If you know that there's a gold rush, everybody's going to go there until there's no more gold rush anymore. And so what you can profit on is being the first one there. And what you can also profit on is sticking with something that you're pretty good at, where you're not making a ton of profit anymore, but you feel good about what you're doing and you're making enough for it to make sense for you. Okay, for each of the prices in the graph, identify the profit maximizing quantities. That should actually be relatively easy. If the firm is making a profit or loss, if the firm should produce or shut down, and B, identify where which PQ combination is a long-run equilibrium. Interesting. Go ahead and do this. Let's see if I can figure it out really quick while we're going. Okay, so the profit maximizing quantities are always where price equals MC. So, or in other words, MR equals MC. So marginal revenue at 5 is at P1. So that's going to be the first one, P1, it's going to be 5. P2, it looks like it's really close to 10. At 15, it's very close to P3. I think they meant for it to be exact. At 20, it's going to be P4, and at 25, it's going to be P5. Is the firm making a profit or a loss at each of these? It's making a loss at 5 and 10 and 15, and at 20, it's breaking even. Because you can see here, average total cost is just barely intersecting. And so is that the right way to think about that? Let's see if I could be wrong in a minute, but I'm pretty sure that's right. And then at 25, you're making all of this money. So all of this below here is going to be cost, but everything above that is going to be profit. So yeah, I think that at 20, it breaks even. Below that, it loses money. And at 25, it's making a pretty good amount of money. What is the long-term equilibrium? It's going to be right here at 20. Because any more than that, people will enter the market until there's no more profit. Any less than that, people will exit because they're already losing money. Let's see if I got all that right. All right, answers for P1, P2, and P3. Come back. Okay, yeah, so you're going to shut down at that point because it just doesn't make sense. You are losing money even just on the variable cost, so you're out of there. At P2, you're kind of at the shutdown point, right? So you could shut down or stay open, but you're losing the exact same amount either way. The next one, you're losing money, but you're going to stay open because you're losing less. You're at least able to pay off some of your workers. You're netting more than if you were to get out completely. Let's look at P4 and P5. Hey, I was right. This is the efficient point. This is the long run equilibrium. And for P5, there is actual profit in the short run, and then people are going to come in and take all that profit away. Okay. SR and LR effects of an increase in demand. So this is one firm on the left. This is a firm begins in long run equilibrium. The market is going to have long run supply right there. This is short run and short run demand and supply. But so what's going to happen is if demand shoots up, then an increase in demand raises P. It's going to go up to there. Boop. Okay, so that makes sense. But now notice what's going to happen. Now in the short run, you're going to be able to have some profits. So you're going to increase your production until MC. More people are going to enter. Yeah, I was right. You get a little bit of profit. Woohoo! But then over time, profits induce entry, so supply is going to shift out. This is what we mean by the long run supply curve. People are going to enter in, and that's where supply is going to return to. It's going to push the profits out. So, okay, that wasn't terrible. That was actually kind of cool. That makes sense. Long run supply curve is horizontal if all firms have identical costs and costs do not change as other firms enter or exit. Long run supply curve might slope upward if firms have different costs or costs rise as firms enter the market. Oh my goodness, this is way too many slides. I need to make some better slides. They've just got too many slides. They've got some pretty ones, but they've got too many slides. It's just too much. All right, costs rise as firms enter the market. That makes sense. In some industries, the supply of a key input is limited. So for example, the amount of land suitable for farming. The entry of new firms increases demand for this input, causing its price to rise. This increases all firms' cost. Hence, an increase in P is required to increase the market quantity supplied. So the supply curve is upward sloping in the long run. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Sometimes they are actually flat, but often they are actually sloped upward. In particular, if costs rise, the other time when that happens is when firms have different costs. So as P rises, firms with lower costs enter the market. Before those with higher costs, further increases in P make it worthwhile for higher cost firms to enter the market, which increases market quantity supplied. Hence, LR, market supply curve slopes upward. Okay, that makes sense. Profit maximizing. Boy, I just don't love this set of slides. I think they've really nailed some chapters, but this is not. It's not bad. There's nothing in here that's bad. It's just, I think it probably confused you guys. So tell me if I'm wrong. Say something in class if you think that this is actually really good. If it explains it, then that's fine. I just feel like there's a lot of graphs and a lot of letters coming at you, and they're not as hard as they're making it out to sound. So the efficiency in a market is always MR equals MC. Still write that down. Still memorize that. In perfect competition, that's the same as P equals MR. Okay? MR equals MC is the one where you want to think. In the competitive equilibrium, P equals MC. The competitive equilibrium is efficient. That means maximizes total surplus because P equals MC. MC is the cost of producing the marginal unit. P is the value to buyers of the marginal unit. There's just a lot of fluff. Like, I get it, but we've already said all of this. There's nothing new here. All right, let's do a think, pair, share. Walking into a Walmart store at 2 a.m. with a friend to buy some cat food, your friend says, I can't believe that these stores stay open all night. There are 10 shoppers in the store and only one checkout lane is open. It doesn't make any sense for the store to be open all night. Why would they stay open? Well, actually, there's a very good reason. I'll bet you can figure this out. Why do you think this Walmart is open all night? B, are the costs of rent, equipment, fixtures, salaries of management, and so on relevant when Walmart makes the decision whether to stay open all night? C, if Walmart had 10 customers during its daytime hours, do you think it would continue to operate? Here's the key here. This is a great little example of why we don't shut down even when it's a drain on our resources. The building's already there. We got to pay the electricity. We've got to pay for the manager. We got to pay for salaried employees. And the couple of people that are stocking shelves don't cost enough for it to offset how much we gain. Those 10 shoppers are worth it to us because it reduces our losses. It doesn't make us profitable at nighttime, but it reduces our losses enough that it's worth doing. And so if they had 10 customers during the day, they're probably going to just shut down. They're probably not attracting enough people. But if it's at nighttime, they probably get most of the revenue during the day, and then they're just mitigating costs during the nighttime. A competitive firm is a price taker. Its revenue is proportional to the amount of output it produces. P equals MR equals AR. The firm's marginal cost curve is its supply curve. Short run, a firm cannot recover its FC. It's gone. So if price is less than average variable cost, it's going to shut down. If price is less than average total cost, it will actually shut down because it can recover both. In a market with free entry and exit, economic profit is driven to zero in the long run. Boy, I got to make better slides on this. I think I could too. It wouldn't be super hard. All firms produce at efficient scale. P equals min ATC. The number of firms adjusts to satisfy the quantity demanded at this price. Changes in demand have different effects over different time horizons. Short run, an increase in demand raises prices and leads to profits. In the long run, there's going to be a zero profit equilibrium. My goodness, that was not my favorite slideshow. I am sorry if I was so grumpy about this. But I don't think they explained that perfectly well. Either way, I don't think it's super hard. We will talk more about it in class. Hopefully you get lots of experiences and chances to interact. God bless, be well, and I will talk to you next time.